You know, it's funny how sometimes the biggest, most life-altering changes can start from the smallest, tiniest actions. Today, we're going to dive into a crazy true story that proves just that. It's a story about a pretty devastating accident, a really painful recovery, and the surprising power of just starting small. So, the story starts with this, and it's from the author James Clear himself. Imagine this, a totally normal day on the baseball field. A teammate takes a full swing, but the bat slips out of his hands. It just goes flying through the air and hits him square between the eyes. He doesn't even remember the moment of impact. I mean, the force was just devastating. His nose was completely shattered, crushed into this distorted U-shape. The impact was so violent, it sent his brain literally slamming into the inside of his skull. Right away, this massive wave of swelling just surged through his head as his classmates all rushed over to help. And the damage was, wow, it was extensive. In just a split second, he had a broken nose, multiple fractures in his skull, and both of his eye sockets were shattered. His brain started swelling so fast that his life was in immediate danger right there on the field. A teacher helped him kind of stumble his way to the nurse's office. He was in shock, totally confused, and had no clue how badly he was actually hurt. To figure out what was going on, the nurse started asking him some really simple questions, starting with this one. His answer, 1998. The year was actually 2002. He was off by 4 whole years. He couldn't even remember who the president was. That's how you knew this was a serious brain injury. His mind was just scrambling to make sense of anything. And then things got even worse. His body just started shutting down. He couldn't breathe properly. He started having multiple seizures. The local hospital couldn't handle injuries this severe, so he had to be airlifted to a bigger facility where they put him into a medically induced coma. His life was hanging by a thread. Okay, so the road back, it was long and, really, really tough. You can see it here on this timeline. He woke up from the coma the next day, but that was just the very beginning. For weeks, he had double vision. He literally couldn't see straight. It took a full month for his eyeball to get back into its socket, 8 months before he could drive a car again. And then, a year later, when he finally went back to baseball, he was cut from the team. Just a crushing blow. So 2 years after the accident, he makes it to college. This should be a fresh start, right? A new beginning. But even with all the progress he'd made, he just felt completely lost. The confidence he used to have was totally gone. He felt like he was right back at square one, starting his whole life over again. He actually managed to make the college baseball team, but he was at the very, very bottom of the roster, a bench warmer. For a guy who dreamed of playing professionally, this was a tough pill to swallow. His future felt so uncertain, and his big goals seemed impossible. But this is where everything changes. Feeling totally overwhelmed, he decided to stop worrying about the huge goals and just focus on these tiny, simple habits he could actually control. Things like going to bed early to let his brain heal, keeping his room tidy to bring some order back into the chaos, lifting some weights, studying a little bit each day. They seemed so insignificant at the time. He would later give these a name, atomic habits. Small, easy practices that don't seem like much on their own. But these tiny little routines gave him back a sense of control. And one by one, they started to rebuild his confidence from the ground up. And the power of these small habits? Well, the difference is just staggering. He started as this overlooked athlete at the bottom of the roster. By his senior year, all those tiny, consistent efforts had compounded. He was named the top male athlete at his university and an academic All-American, an honor only 33 players in the entire country get. 8. That's how many school record books he was listed in by the time he graduated. The person who once felt like a total failure had become one of the most successful athletes in his university's history. It's just an absolutely incredible transformation. So you're probably asking, how did he do it? What was the secret? The one big moment? And the truth is, there wasn't one. There was no magic trick. It was a slow, gradual process built on those tiny habits he started as a freshman. Just a long series of small wins, day after day. And that's really the heart of his whole story, right there. It's this idea that the small choices we make every day, the tiny habits we stick with, they might not seem like a big deal at first, but over time, they add up. They compound into something truly remarkable. So this brings us to the big question. His story is amazing for sure, but what does it mean for us? Why should we care about this idea of tiny habits in our own lives, with our own challenges and our own goals? Because, as he found out, it all comes down to this. The quality of our lives our health, our happiness, our success. It so often depends on the quality of our daily habits. Makes you think, right? What small positive change could you start today that might just compound into something remarkable a few years from now?